Hi everyone, it's Elisa from Moonstruck Vintage. I'm just coming to you today with a question that I get on occasion. The question is, what do you collect as a vintage seller? Is there anything that you decide that you want to keep and that you collect specifically? And my answer is always, yeah, I love everything that I sell, and I would probably keep everything that I would sell if I had that opportunity. But there are limitations in the space in which we live that we can't keep everything. But I very often do keep things for a little while, especially, if I'm really attracted to them and I might live with them. But I find that through natural attrition, some things normally kind of fall away, and those things I eventually bring back into the shop and sell. But there are a few things that I don't ever get rid of, or at least not yet, that I really save because for some magical reason, these are the things that I choose to keep in my collections. Now, I've also collected and sold off collections throughout the years as well. For instance, for many years, I collected orange mid-century modern glassware, glasses. So there are some things that don't stay in my collections for very long. And then there are some things that never seem to leave me. So today I'm just going to share a couple of the things that I collect. I think I always like to say too that I see a lot of things and I sell a lot of things. So there's fewer and fewer things that really catch my attention. But when they do, they do. It's sort of interesting. So let's start with number one first. And not number one in meaning it's the most important thing. It's just the first thing on my list. So I have a collection of brooches. And this particular collection is all palm trees, as you can see. Now you'll notice that the majority of them are sterling silver and all very similar in design. There are a couple more unique ones. And then there's a couple down here at the bottom that are not sterling, but they're very nice representations. And I actually have a new one to add to the collection. Again, not sterling, but it'll fit in nicely. Okay, I never wear these pins. I've had them for many, many, many years. Many of them have been gifted to me, in particular by my dear friend and vintage spirit animal, Jim. He's always looking for them for me. And so this is that collection. Now, I think it originally started because I do have an affinity for beaches and tropical weather. But that was a long time ago. But for some reason, I think one of the reasons I love collecting these pins is they're not super common. Like you don't come across them every day. So I like the idea that they're slightly rare in that you can't always find them. And I also like the idea that they represent tropical climates, which is something I used to do a lot more of. I haven't done that in a long time, but I really love the idea of it. And I love that, to me, like the palm tree really represents a time period in history, like from the 1930s and 40s, when there was a real, like, kind of vibe of the tropical, big hibiscus flowers, beautiful tropical birds, in a lot of the print in clothing at that time. It was just like a tropical vibe, like Miami, just coconuts and palm trees. So I sort of love that nostalgic part of the idea of palm trees. I also collect some other pins. Again, and they're not quite as organized, but you'll see there's a variety of them. There's some rhinestone there tends to be a horse theme and a plane theme. I'm just going to take a couple out because they're kind of hidden. Again, many of these are sterling. Like this is one of my favorites. It hasn't been polished in a while, but it's sterling silver. It's an airplane. I've been lucky and privileged enough to do a fair amount of traveling in my life. Not lately, not since so much since I've had the shop, but in my entire lifetime. So I love picking up anything having to do with travel. Here's another airplane pin, not sterling, but gold. Probably was given out by a pilot to a child on a plane trip. This is a riderless horse. Again, represents a lot of things, but I just love that horse. And I do have an affection for horses. When I was much younger, as a child and a young teenager, I used to collect horse statues. So this is kind of reminiscent of that time in my life. Again, I love rhinestones, but in particular, rainbow colored, multicolored rhinestones. This one actually, I believe, was my mom's. Again, rhinestones. This particular one is a calla lily. My friend Jim, again, I believe he gave this to me. He found this on a vintage hat in a costume room of a theater we used to be involved with back in my hometown. So a lot of these things have meaning to me, or maybe, wait, this might be that one. This might be the one he found. This has a beautiful bird on it. Anyway, so I do have a pretty varied collection of brooches. Again, I keep them in this box. I rarely wear them, but they are precious to me. And I think part of why I love them so much is that they are easily contained and stored. And the last thing I'll show you from this little box is these are my father's cufflinks that he wore at my parents' wedding. I don't know if you can see the JV on there. These are pretty precious to me for obvious reasons. Why I keep them in here with my brooches, I do not know. But I guess that just represents how precious these brooches are to me. So they're just little reminders, and I think it's less about the fact that they're brooches and more about the fact that they remind me of a time in history, my history, and what they represent to me in that way. And the last thing I'm going to show you today is, and I'll take these out too, but this is my collection of vintage sunglasses. So ever since I was a child, bizarrely, I always wished I wore glasses. I'm not sure why that was. I just felt like that was a cool accessory, and I thought people were very elegant who wore glasses. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe because my grandparents wore glasses. I'm not sure. But anyway, so I do not wish that anymore because now I have to wear glasses. But since I do have to wear them, they've always been a fascination for me in terms of, you know, uh, what different glasses you can wear. And you can see, you'll notice that through these videos and through some of my Instagram videos, which I am on Instagram as well, Moonstruck CLE. Please follow me there if you're interested. You'll notice my glasses change frequently. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that I lose them and I break them. But then some of it has to do with, well, if I have to wear glasses, I might as well enjoy them and have a good time with it. So for many, many, many years, I have collected vintage sunglasses. Now, the majority of these sunglasses, again, I do not wear them because vintage glass frames can be a little bit delicate and they do degrade over time, the plastic that's used. So you have to be kind of careful. That's not the main reason I don't wear them. I just don't wear them because I think of them as a collectible. I don't think of them as a wearable, but a lot of people do wear them, and I think that's really cool. So most of these sunglasses are from the 1950s and the 1960s. These, I would say, are from the 70s. Very cool. These are probably my oldest and longest owned. So these are beautiful red. These would be 1950s, no doubt. And again, many of these have been gifted to me. There you see me in the mirrored sunglasses. These are so cool. By my friend Jim, who is an expert picker and thrifter, and he knows I love these, and he has gifted me several over the years. I adore them. There's something, again, very rare about them because, like I mentioned, they don't always survive. And people who do find them and love them very often wear them. These are great. These got a little bit of rhinestone on the ends. And so they do get, they do not last always, the test of time. So this is one of the coolest pairs I have. I just love these so much. These have a little cracked glass. And I do have this one pair. I think these were not sunglasses. I think these were eyeglasses, but look how spectacular. With the rhinestones on the edge. Beautiful. And I do have a couple of pairs of men's glasses, which I think are super cool too. Look at those. Those are so, I don't know, 1960 to me, motorcycle riding dude. Just the coolest guy on the block. This guy too, super cool. Yeah, I don't know. This particular collection, I feel very confident that it would have to be a cold day in hell before I sold these. This is years and years and years of collecting, and they are just simply precious to me. And even more so now when so much of my, physical identity, especially online, is wearing glasses. I feel like it's a deep representation of who I am and the image I'd like to portray. Look at these. These are so good. So look at the ends, how cool they did this. So nowadays they're all just mostly bent back to be held onto your ear. These were special in that they still held onto your ear, but they were just the coolest design ever. Yeah, so cool. So, and these came actually with this little clip-on additional coloring. Sorry, words. But anyway, so that is probably one of my most precious collections, and I will always have that collection, I'm pretty sure. There might be a few that I didn't show you all of them, but there might be a few that I would sell off, but for the most part, those will stay with me, because not only do I appreciate the history and the design of them, I also feel very connected to them because of my dreams of wearing glasses one day, and the fact that I do wear glasses now and I need to wear glasses. So we're going to make the best of it. So that's my 3 box collections. There are some other collections that I have, but for today, I think we'll end it there. I do have a couple others I might give you a quick tour of before we end the video. I'll insert some clips here. I love to collect some miniatures, and I also love to collect miniature Buddhas. So not your normal, I would assume, but it's possible there are other people doing that. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me. Hopefully this was fun and just a little bit something light to watch and not too intensely business or serious. So have a good day and we'll talk soon. Hi everyone, it's Elisa again. Here is my little tiny Buddha collection. And that's me in the mirror, obviously. And I have some other precious things on this shelf that I've been collecting for a long time. I absolutely love shells, large shells in particular. And we'll round it out with a little Harry Styles. And lastly, in my kitchen window on the ledge, I'll just show you a tiny bit of my miniatures collection. Please note the little eyeglasses. That is actually a ring. There's a wizard without a hand, which kind of ties back to the Moonstruck video. Wolf without a foot, wizard without a hand. My moon perfume bottles that were given to me by my mom. This is one of my favorite things. This whale with a little goldfish in its belly. And I love crystal, obviously, because it makes rainbows. Thanks. Have a great day, you guys. Thank you for joining me.